Hey everyone, good morning from Build. I'm your host, Brittany Jones-Cooper. The new film, The Intruder, centers on a young married couple that buys their dream house, only to realize that the home's previous owner can't seem to part with the property. Director Deon Taylor and actor Joseph Sikora come to discuss the new thriller, but first, check out the trailer.
You really want this place, don't you?
I do.
Welcome to Foxglove. I'm Charlie Peck.
This view is beautiful.
It's the only house I ever lived in.
Nice-looking family.
We always had a lot of love here. This house is yours now.
We'll take good care of her.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Have a good time in Florida, buddy.
You're not gonna believe this. Charlie is outside cutting the grass.
What?
Did you just get this out of the garage?
That's right, keep it. Something is really off with that guy. Hey, Scott. Hello. Hey, stop drilling holes in my house.
It's not your house.
He's quite a guy. You know his wife died in that house.
You think that's blood?
Your days of dropping by are over.
It's hard to say goodbye.
He's watching you. This guy is dangerous.
What the hell?
You're not dying today.
The Intruder.
Put your hands together for Deon Taylor and Joseph Sikora.
Thank you.
Welcome, guys. How you doing today?
Fantastic. After that clip, even better.
I watched this last night before Game of Thrones, so it got me really hyped up because I was on the edge of my seat the entire time with this film. So good job to both of you.
Yeah.
Deon, let's start with you. Where did this story come from?
I was actually just finishing a film called Traffic, and a producer named Mark Berg sent me the script and was like, man, I read this script and thought about you. I think you could bring this to life. And I remember reading the script in 30 minutes on my phone. And every frame, every page I turned, I could just see the frame. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I have to make this movie right now. Yeah,
I saw Traffic. It was also a thriller. So what is it about this genre that you love so much?
I like realism. I like films that are grounded in reality. I like flawed characters. And I think that's just because of my upbringing, coming from Gary, Indiana, having no money, being poor, all the the normal stories that you hear. I tend to sway towards things that are grounded in reality and that are real. Mm-hmm. And I try to apply them into film. And I think film is escapism. So we have so many crazy things going on in our lives all the time. I feel like when you sit in the theater, you should be entertained, but at the same time be able to find a beat or two of your life or something like, oh yeah, that's me. Yeah.
I think that's what I like the most is that it wasn't like this crazy, scary villain. It was like a nice white guy. That was the villain. And you're like, oh my God, that's like all my neighbors.
That did happen.
For you, Joseph, what drew you to the role? Why was this something you wanted to be a part of?
Well, I mean, I was so flattered to get the role. Deon is an incredible leader, as such an artistic, electric person on set that he's always going, always moving forward. So I was just really proud to be working with him and Michael, who I have known, who I did another film with, and Megan, who I just adored as an actor and as a human being. And then Dennis Quaid is just a legend. And to see Deon and Dennis work together actually was probably the most special thing for me, and I say that because you have a legend in entertainment in Dennis Quaid, and you have a legend in the making in Deon Taylor, and to see these two collaborate so fluidly, an idea would pop up from Dennis, and Deon would be like, great, and then an idea would pop up from Deon, and Dennis would be like, yeah, I'll do that. And just to see this this perpetual motion that happened between them is infectious, and then that bled through the rest of the cast. And it's a very empowering thing as an actor to be told yes. So I was just like, I have an idea, Deon. He's like, great, so we're going to do that. Great, so you're going to do that. So it really is empowering, and I think that the collaborative nature of the film shows on screen. And so that was my favorite part about it, which wasn't your question at all. But
oh, that's okay. I like it because I want to also talk to you about how you developed your character, Mike. So what was sort of your guidance on him, or what did you bring to that role that you felt was important?
Well, I've said this before, but I think that Mike, for Scott and Annie, who he's known for a long time, Mike is really a sounding board. Mike is somebody who's, he is kind of cocky and, hey, look, we got these cool city jobs, and what are you doing all the way out here? So he is a little removed from their dream. But because he's removed, he has that distance, and they always say the forest for the trees. Mike's actually able to look and say, no, this is weird. This plus this equals that. And Scott's like, no, you're being crazy. There's nobody out there. No, I don't think so. And then the cigarette burn, Mike puts that together too. Not to give anything away.
Mike is the black guy in the movie theater. Mike is the dude like, hey, that dude tripping.
Yeah.
Y'all hear what I'm talking about? Like, Mike is the black dude in every movie theater around the country. Y'all don't see this? So his character plays that entire arc, the entire film in The Intruder, which is really, really dope and is done in a good way. And I feel like there could be no one better than Joseph to play the part because he, not only is he incredible as an actor, but he just has a different, unique style and, what he brings. Obviously, what he's doing on Power right now is award worthy, but in The Intruder, what I loved about what he did was he played that role to the point to where you're like, you got to listen to him, but then at the same time, you understand he's right. But then he has the power, he has the persona, but then he's also scared. He's just a great, flawed character, and he's incredible in the film. Yeah.
In particular, there's a scene with Dennis Quaid that I just loved the chemistry you two had together.
What she's saying. We were in the thing in Chicago, screen. I was just telling him, we were in the screen in Chicago, and the theater is packed, right? And there's a scene with him, and I'm not giving away the movie, but it's just the people. And he has a scene with Dennis Quaid. And the entire theater was like, don't you hurt my Tommy! Don't kill Tommy! And then the lady behind me, I'm like, right when he couldn't get any words, the lady behind me was like, that's my baby! And I'm like, you don't even know him. You know what I mean? Anyways, it was just great.
Not even Tommy.
That's not even Tommy.
But I get it. But to be embraced in that way, and I get that as an actor, and that in some ways that when you are embraced as a specific character, that's fine with me because my job then is to just show up and embody a different character. So however people are going to identify, it's basically like, you can call me this, you can call me that, just call me. Right. And that does bring people in, and however they want to identify is great because this character is such a departure from the character that I play on Power.
And that's why I like this scene. There is this, like you said, it's a roller coaster of emotion that Mike is kind of going through in this scene with Dennis. So what was that like for you, just playing that back and forth, the give and take?
He's a great partner.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times that people who have been around for 40 plus years, as Dennis Quaid, his career has spanned, have sometimes when another actor, I'm very present as an actor. So if you say a line differently one time, I'm going to respond to it differently. And that Dennis is very similar, and he gave me a lot of respect as an actor because we had previous scenes. We have a few scenes in the film, and I think that he saw that I was there to play. And again, Deon, if Deon didn't have my back, it wouldn't have gone down like that maybe. If Deon was just like, yeah, here's this supporting actor in the film, Dennis would have been, man, who's this guy? But Deon's just like, this is Joseph Sikora. He's, look, man, this guy's great. He's fantastic, Dennis. Whatever you need from him, he's going to give to you. And that empowered me to go toe-to-toe with one of our greats.
Incredible too, man. Incredible.
Joseph mentioned watching you and him work together and how that was inspiring. For you, what were the pieces of Charlie that were there? What were the pieces that Dennis brought out? Like, how did you develop this villain? Because he really is this mix of The Shining and the Joker, and it's really convincing.
He's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, what Joe is saying is basically like because I really come from from the bottom. A lot of times my conversations with people are very real conversations. So for me to be able to sit there and talk to him about all the things that I was that I thought would be scary on camera, as well as movies that I've loved, and for us to have a real conversation. I think my pedigree allows me to allow people to have ideas and for me to respond to those ideas. So and to take those ideas and actually try them. A lot of times you get in the film, people, we had to move the camera this way and that's all we're gonna do. Don't say anything to me. I'm like, man, that's not how you make a movie. You make a movie by talking to people and hanging out with people and hearing and trying. And what me and Dennis really got off on was trying. So he told me, he said, look, man, I signed up to come do this movie because of you. You're the director. You tell me what to do, and I'm doing it, right? By week 1, I'm like, you tell me what you want to do, and then we'll try it. And that's what I think Joseph is alluding to, is the fact that we would try things, and Dennis was not afraid to fall on his face. You know what I mean? Like one time, a couple times he looked like, how was that? And I said, that was horrible. Like, let's try something, pull back or go forward and then you begin to figure out what that is you're doing. You know what I mean? And it's a lot like, being in a partnership in a business. If you're trying to start a company with a friend or a family member or a girlfriend, a wife, a husband, whatever it is, you guys got to go through the ups and downs and figure it out together. You know what I mean? Everybody has to collaborate and build something dope. And that's what I feel like we did with Dennis. And, we found a temperature with the entire film. And I keep telling him one of the most incredible moments to me is the walk and talk with him and Dennis Quaid. I'm like, yo, this is epic. Just the whole conversation.
That's why I brought it up, because I was really in that scene.
Yeah. It is all he but also to Deon's credit, that scene is written differently than it's filmed.
Yeah.
And it's because it could have gone, and also it could have been written. Mike could have done something different in that scene, and that scene would have been totally different.
You're right.
But also, just from the page, Deon was just like, it was a yes and moment.
Yep.
Yes, this is on the page, but we can also go here with it. We can make this a little bit longer because that's going to equal more tension and payoff. We filmed the Thanksgiving scene 3 different ways.
Yeah.
One, the most extreme way, made it into the cut of the film. But but literally, it was like, is that necessarily going to work? I'm not sure. Let's do it a different way. Let's do it this way. Let's do it that way. But I was just always on board for this. It was exploratory. It's experimental, exciting.
Yeah, because sometimes the screenplay for a film, sometimes the screenplay acts as just a template for what you're trying to build. Once you get into the heat of making a film and you understand what you're doing, dialogue changes, energy changes, people change. You know what I mean? Someone writing a script in a room 4 months from now and then getting into that room and all of a sudden now, the wall is black and the dude is right there and the energy is this. You're not going to say the same stuff. I think I'll partake in that. You're like, no, that's not the word, man. Let me have that. You know what I mean? It's like, look, give me that, and the energy changes. So I'm a fan of like, what would you say right here? What would you do? What would you say? And all
me improv a lot of little different.
I love it because it's real. Do you know what I mean? Like, one of my worst pet peeves is watching shows or movies with us. And I say us like the culture. Everybody out here, we're the culture, right? And you look at something and you be like, I would never say that. Or I would never do that. You know what I mean? Or I'll be ready to fight. Whatever that is. And most times, like, directors that don't really have any idea of what the culture is, they're just going with what's on the paper. But when you've really lived it and been in it and understand it, that's when on camera you like, no, go and say that, Tommy. You know what I mean? Or go and say that, whatever it might be. And I think that's when it really comes to life. You know what I mean? Because we're such a great community in terms of how we move and how we breathe. And I think in film, if you got to let films breathe and be what they are.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because as I was watching, I did feel connected with each character because it felt real enough that I was like, oh no, I wouldn't do that, or I would do that. And that makes you mad, but that also makes you want to watch more to see what they do, because it's not so out of the realm of possibility.
That's right.
It feels like this, it could really happen.
Yeah, the idea is like, what would you do? Yeah. Like everybody has a great answer to something until it happens to you. You know what I mean? Like, if they came around the corner, you know what? I'll get the strap and you like go do nothing. You finna freeze up like everybody else for a moment. Like, yo, what do I do? And that's what I think is really good about the movie. And as we're screening the film, people come out like, man, if he was it, and I said, that's the conversation. Yeah. What would you do if you came home and someone was just sitting in your living room and they were just like, hey, I've been waiting for you. You know what I mean? Like, how do you handle that? I don't know.
Mowing your lawn.
Or
be
mowing
like,
your
finish,
lawn.
but don't come back.
Yeah, so the obvious answer is I would tackle him and didn't. No, you wouldn't, because you'd be like, yo, this dude's in my house friendly, right? I don't know what the answer is.
Let's talk about the house, because it really is another character in the film. So what was it like shooting in that space? Where was that? I mean, it was beautiful.
Dusty and beautiful.
Yeah, Foxglove is the house, and I had given up on scouting. We didn't have very much money, so at the time, Roxanne, the producer, was like, Deon, we got to go to Vancouver and shoot this movie. And I'm like, man, I'm going to no damn Vancouver. Black people ain't in Vancouver. So she was like, we got to go over here and make this movie. So we flew over to Vancouver, and I remember it was during the NBA playoffs, so I really was like on a short thing, like, yo, the game come on. what's this house? And finally, I kind of got into the rhythm and I couldn't find a house. The guy that was driving the van was like, yo, there's some houses, but they're haunted houses that might fit what you're, because he kept hearing me in the back. I'm loud, like, we need a house that got the hallway. So he was like, drive to this house. So we went to Foxglove. And I remember driving up to the house and going down the little runway, like in the trailer, and it was like the concrete angel with the broken wing and the water coming. I said, yo, this is scary, man. And the house was completely covered with ivy. The door was covered with ivy. This is a true story. And I was like, man, look at this. And I was like, I wonder if we could get in there. Because, it looks like it's just been there for 100 years. And the door opens this way, and some white people come out like, hey, like waving. I was like, yo, they live in there with a dog and everything. And I said, this the house. Y'all living in there? So we went inside the thing, and it was like a beautiful house, but it was like 130 years old. And what was really creepy about it, inside the house, we didn't get to shoot it because Megan refused to go in the room. There's a church inside of the house, like a one-bedroom church. It comes with a one-bedroom church, right? It's like
big selling point.
It's like, and they had like stained glass, and Megan was like, "Ooh, the energy," and I was like, "Yeah, I feel it too, but I'm gonna go look because y'all might shoot in here." She was like, we're not going in there." So that whole wing of the house never got used, but it was so scary and creepy, man, and it just really becomes a character in the movie. Yeah.
Joseph, you said it was dusty, though.
Dusty.
Well, it's 130 years old. I expect it to be a little dusty, but also because of the age of the home, some of that stuff, there's little bits of Mike talking when he's just like, this place, you know what, it could be good, but just knock this down and break this down.
Great, man.
There
Yeah.
is, Mike also represents kind of the modernism, the look. And it's interesting because as New Yorkers, we all know, like, people like, oh, I love this big, nice, open, modern look. And so people are breaking things down. Deon, this is a long interlude into saying that because the house is a different character, it does represent society as well. And
right.
Deon had mentioned this, and I love the house as society, as like, it's kind of like, are we going to change? Can we change? Is this institutionalized society able to be broken down, made new and alive, and actually be the same but look different and be run from the inside differently?
Yeah.
And when you look at it as a metaphor, it's a very interesting movie as well.
Is, yeah.
And before we go to audience questions, I'm curious, how do you guys get rid of unwanted guests in your house? Like when you're ready for people to go home?
I straight up ask them to leave. I really do. I'm old enough now where I'm just like, look, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. I got a guest room. You can sleep in there, but I'm done. Tonight's over with.
You know what? I guess on an occasion, I would do the same thing, but I'm a nice person. So a lot of times I'd be like, whoo, think I'm going to lay down. You know what I mean? I try to, whoo, you know what time you going to be over here tomorrow? Like I try to, before I'd be like, hey, man, it's time to go, But I'll try to do a couple of different, interludes before so you'd be like, oh, yeah, let me get out of here, man. But, yeah.
I'm taking notes, though.
Yeah, you got to do that. Like, woo, what time you going to be up in the morning, man? Like, that to me, that means, like, okay, it's time to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just start yawning a lot. And I'm like, you see me yawning for the 5th time? You got to go home.
Yeah. I know a couple people that just get up and leave. Like, I've been at someone's house before, a really big celebrity, and we've been over there, and I'm like, damn, it's getting late. I know he want all these people out here. And I've seen him actually just go to bed. Is everybody just looking around like, hey, what happened? And he checked out for the night. He's just in his house.
You just like open the door, you're like, bye.
Yeah, he didn't do none of that. He just went to bed. You take yourself out.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
It sends the message.
It does.
Well, I know we have some questions. Who do we have first?
All right, no questions. Oh.
All right. All right, cool. There's questions for you, Joseph. I wanted to know, at what age did you decide to be an actor officially?
I was 11. Wow. Yeah, I was 11. And because I grew up in Chicago on the Northwest Side, just kind of a cop and fireman neighborhood, working people, that we didn't know how to do that. My mother literally looked through the yellow pages. And I started in theater. I did some commercials. I got out of it in high school just because I, wanted to just getting in mischief in the city, and that's what you do. Luckily, my mother kept the money that I had made doing a couple of commercials as a youth and paid my Screen Actors Guild dues throughout high school. So when I was in college, I went to college. I actually got kicked out of the first school I went to. And then I ended up finishing at a Columbia College, Chicago. So at that time, I was in the Screen Actors Guild since 1988. Wow. So I've been in the Screen Actors Guild for 31 years right now. So a long time. And what that does, it means my pension could have kicked in last year. But it's been, obviously, I mean, 99.9% of people know me from Power now. But, I've been acting since I was 11 years old in one way or another, and it's an incredible struggle. Until I got Power, I wasn't able to pay my bills. When I was first here in New York in 2000, I lived off of the other people being gracious to me and off Broadway stuff, and having to go back to Chicago to try to find work, going out to LA to try to find work, sleeping on couches, hearing no 1,012 times, and then finally, legitimately, and I don't know how this necessarily can translate into everybody's life, but it can, until I found something that I loved more than acting, which happened to be my wife, and life just changed for me a little bit, and I didn't need the job so much. I just knew that I was going to live life anyway. The work came to me, and again, I'm a believer, so I believe, I think that is God letting us know that, trust in Him and trust in something bigger than the gig. Are you an actor?
No, I'm a dancer.
A dancer? Just, if it's something, this is what I tell actors usually and dancers, anybody in the arts, if it's something you have to do, then you have to do it. If it's not something you have to do something else. No shame in it. But only if you have to do it, because it's a tough business. It's incredibly can be incredibly demeaning, and I mean, an adult man, you can't take anybody out for a date. I couldn't afford this stuff. So it can be a very, very tough life. But if you have to do it, you have to do it and do it. And don't you don't have to have a backup plan. Just go for it wholeheartedly. That's what this man did.
Yeah, I'd like to have a round of applause for that answer. Yeah. That was great. Hey man, y'all in here, it don't get no realer than that. Man, it don't get no real. You can't buy that. That's great. Yeah.
Next question.
Hi. I had a question for Joseph. I wanted to know, is there anything that you learned being on Power that you kind of applied to this movie?
Yes. It's to have confidence in your performance. When I booked Power, I think that I had to do the homework of Tommy and make him a full character, fully actualized, realized, gravity. Because if a great actor told me this, everybody else congratulated me. Oh, this is going to be great. You finally booked, something big. And I was like, great. But this other actor says to me, now the work begins. Because if you're not the exact same character from the first episode of the first season, if you change, those people are going to start to go against you, and they're not even going to know why. So you have to be full. So when I stepped into the movie, what I did is I read the script, I made choices, I thought this is the exact character that I wanted to be, and then I showed up, and then you have to let all that go. Yeah. Because you have to have who that character is inside you, and you have to commit to that character. But then you have to be malleable enough that you listen to the director specifically, and then the other actors. So if the other actors are going to help influence who that character is, because Michael Ealy's Scott has to influence. Thank goodness I knew Michael beforehand, so we were good at playing friends. But that influences and to who my character is going to be as well. So the main thing is do the homework before you get to set and spend a ton of time so you can actually have some freedom.
I love that. You become the character. You really have to be able to live in their skin a little bit.
Make choices as this other person.
That's cool. And one more question, actually.
I have one for the director. You come from a sports background, so why directing? You didn't go to school for directing or anything like that. Why did you pick directing? Did it just come from the ethos?
First of all, why are you on stage asking the question? Get back. Get out of here. Get out of here, brother.
Thank you.
I I started directing basically because I love film, and I was never going to be a director. What happened was I was playing basketball overseas in Germany, and I had started watching all the movies I could watch. Just before you could download movies. And at the time, my girlfriend was sending me DVDs, and I would watch the DVDs over the course of 3 days, 10, 12 movies, and then I would begin to watch the making of because I didn't have anything else to watch. I became obsessed with making of DVDs. So I would watch like how Predator was made, how Aliens was made. I love that. So if you give me one with 3-4 hours, I'm in it. And I got the bug, and I was like, I'm gonna write a screenplay. I wrote a screenplay on a Me tablet, end of the season, fly back to LA, go talk to my girlfriend at the time, Ephraim at the time. All my friends were like, yo, I got this dope movie. And everybody like, man, if you don't get your ass out of here, right? You go over there and dribble that ball and shoot, man. And I was like, I had this idea, man, and that idea took me on a 14-year run. And I ended up trying to go to everybody, and I use this analogy a lot. I'm the product of no. I was told no so many times, I thought that was my name, right? It's like, oh, no Deon, right? Like, so I just ended up like figuring it out, man. And then over the course of being told no so much, a gentleman came up to me at the time and was like, hey, let me give you some information. I was like, what's that? He was like, man, you got a lot of energy. No one's gonna make your movie. You gotta go make it yourself. And I was like, what? You could do that? He was like, yeah, go get the money and make your own movie. And that put me on a crash course. And since then, I ended up making my first film, hired a director for the first movie because I didn't know I was a filmmaker. And he was doing so much weird stuff. I was like, man, that's not what I wrote. I've been living with this for 3 years. What are you talking about? They don't throw axes and jump off. I said, we don't do that. And a cinematographer named Phil Lee was like, hey, fire that guy. You should direct the movie, and I'll move the camera, and you tell the actors what to do. And it started. And just lets you know, man, like when God has something for you, no one can take it from you. You got to be able to do the work. You know what I mean? I heard my man ask a question about being a dancer. He answered that elaborately. It's tough. It's hard. But are you willing to do the work? Because if it was easy, everyone would be dancing with Beyonce. You know what I mean? If it was easy, everybody would be up here on Power. You know what I mean? Or in The Intruder. The reality is...
Intruder.
Yeah, but I mean, the reality is, are you willing to sacrifice and do the work and really be true to yourself and really have those moments where you're sleeping on the couch, where you don't have no money? I've put 30 cents in the gas tank before. 30 cents on 3, please. I've done that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's real. You know what I mean? We've been in the house with no lights, had the shoes with the holes. You know what I mean? Like, if you've lived that, then you understand how to struggle and fight through adversity. This ain't nothing. Go get that, man. Go do that dancing. Go get that role. Go write that script. You know what I mean? Go write your book. Go be great. That's why you're here, right? People left pyramids from a million years ago. What would be your pyramid? What are you leaving? You know what I mean?
Also, the main point to me is hearing no again.
Yeah.
Is being able to hear no so many times that you think it's your name, that you think that nobody's going to say yes, that you're going to have to do it yourself, and to not let that destroy your dream.
Yes.
And also the beauty that second and third and fourth acts are possible. Like just because you started as a ball player doesn't mean that that's it, you know?
Well, it's a whole movie. It's not one act. You know what I mean? So you got to get to the end credits, man. You know what I mean? So that's the reality of it, yeah.
Well, I love hearing that background, especially after seeing the film, because I could see all the heart and soul that you guys poured into this.
We giving you the heat today, man. We giving you the hot stuff.
And
what
you made
talking
me
about?
never want to buy a home.
Yeah.
So there's that too.
You're in the right city for that.
Yeah.
If you guys want to check out The Intruder, it premieres in theaters Friday, May 3rd. Give it up for Deon Taylor.
Yes. Thank you so much.